Hi everybody, I'm Chef Jimmy and welcome to Chef Jimmy's Kitchen. Today we're going to make the ultimate buttermilk biscuit. Talk about a few biscuit basics, and we have a surprise ingredient. Ready to get started? Okay, let's go. We're going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, measured using the dip and sweep method. To that we're adding 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of sugar, little background sweetness, they won't be sweet, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And if you're like me and you don't like to whisk, let me show you a nice little secret. A wire whisk, if you don't like to sift, a wire whisk is perfect for incorporating all the dry ingredients. Alright, you ready for our surprise ingredient? Cream cheese. 4 ounces of cold cream cheese. This gives it a flavor and a crispness that's very, very nice. I'm just going to cut this with a knife into about, 6 or 8 pieces. Doesn't matter, we're going to work it with our fingers a little bit. And we're going to cut the cream cheese into the flour until our pieces are no bigger than, say, the size of a large blueberry, for instance. That's how we're going to do this. We're just going to take our fingers just like this, and we're going to cut this cream cheese in, making sure that it's coated with flour all the time. We want to work fairly quickly because we're not trying to make one thing, that one thing being flour and cream cheese mixed together. We want the cream cheese separate from the flour, just cut into little smaller pieces. Okay, there we go. Next thing we're going to add is 1/2 cup or 1 stick of butter, ice cold. I cut this in fourths, this way and then this way, so that when I cut it in pieces like this, they're already about the size I'm looking for. I just have to work them a little bit. Again, we're trying not to touch the fats very much, because if we do, they start to melt a little bit, and we're not looking for one incorporation. We want the butter, cream cheese, all to be separate. Okay, so the same way we did before, just with our fingertips, we're just going to cut this butter until it's about the same size as the cream cheese. It'll take about a half a minute or so. And while I'm doing this, let's just talk about some basics of biscuit making. I've mentioned cold ingredients. That's very important that you use cold ingredients. Second thing is that you always want to put your biscuits into a preheated oven. The next thing is that once you mix the liquid into the dry ingredients, carbon dioxide, the leavening agent of biscuits, starts to work immediately. You want to put your biscuits, you want to form them, cut them, and put them in the oven pretty much right away. Not the time to take a 30-minute phone call. The other thing is, when you cut biscuits, you want to cut straight down. I'll show you when we get to that. And I think we're just about here cutting our ingredients in. Okay. So you can take a kind of a look. You can see that there are some bigger pieces, but no bigger than, say, a large blueberry. To that, we're adding 1 cup cold buttermilk. We're just going to mix that together now until it comes together. We're not going to overmix, but we don't want any dry ingredients either. Okay, I think that's just perfect. We're going to put a little bit of flour down on our bench so things don't stick. And just turn this dough out onto it. Alright, now if we need to, we're going to flour our hands, maybe a little dusting on top. We don't want to incorporate much more flour into this, but we don't want it to stick either. And if we need to, just push it together a couple times till it comes together. We don't want any dry pockets. Okay, I think we've got it. I'm just going to push this out now until it's about, maybe about a ½ inch. This is all personal choice at this point, the size biscuit you want. I'm going to use a cutter this size, but you can certainly use a cutter any size you like. I think we'll get probably 6 biscuits this size out of here. You could certainly re-roll the dough. The more you work it, I'll tell you, you'll see if you try this, they're a little bit different. They're kind of not quite as pretty a shape. So we'll cut 6 out here. And we're going to put it into a 400-degree preheated oven for 12 to 15 minutes. When they come out, we'll brush them with butter and we'll see how they taste. Into the oven they go. Now I baked these a few minutes ago. Here's our baking powder biscuits. Look at this biscuit. The way they rise, they're very crispy on the outside edge, very tender on the inside. Now I like to serve them in a basket like this for Sunday brunch. And let's try one, shall we? I've got a little bit of butter and a little bit of orange marmalade right here. And let's try this together. You ready? Warm buttermilk biscuit. Man, those are good. A little bit crispy on the outside. Now, if you like your biscuits softer around the outside, you can push them together on the baking tray. They'll get a little bit softer, they won't rise quite as much, and they might take a couple more minutes to bake. Okay, the ultimate buttermilk biscuit. I'm Chef Jimmy. Thanks for joining me in Chef Jimmy's Kitchen.